Okay, should we get to go?
Should we get to go? Okay. All good? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. O Allah, teach us that which benefits us and benefit us with that which you have taught us and grant us more knowledge and grant us sincerity in that knowledge, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you guys doing? Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Wallah, it's amazing to see a bunch of Khateebs join us every term. And in this crowd, I see some familiar faces. So happy to know they're going to continue doing khutbahs, but also some new faces. So I'm excited to see the new Khateeb step up because we need you guys up there, inshallah. And when I look at this crowd, I see a bunch of leaders as well. Allahumma barik. People who really care about the community. So this is not Khateeb workshop related, but I do think it would be good for you guys to get to know one another. Try out of this workshop, if there's someone that you don't know or you haven't met before, to get to know them, inshallah. Again, these are people who really care about the community just like you, and we want everyone to be nice suhbah together, inshallah ta'ala. Now, before we start the Khateeb workshop, I want to say that this Khateeb workshop was one that I did it a couple of times, couple being 6 or 7 so far. So alhamdulillah, even the slides are the same. If it ain't broke, don't change it. So it's the focus of it is to help you know how to take your khutbah from a satisfactory level to an exceptional level. That's the focus of it. We're not going to dive too much into the fiqhi elements and the different madhahib and so on and so forth because that's going to prolong here. The idea is you're walking out of here to deliver a khutbah that's going to drive impact and that's going to reap the most khair. That's the focus of this workshop, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, I think we'll just dive right in. The schedule we have is there's going to be 4 main sections that we're going to go through. Afnan's laughing at my G-force. So the schedule of the workshop, we're going to go over the procedure of the khutbah. So just more etiquettes, how it happens, preparation, etc. Then the message itself, so the content of your khutbah, the delivery, and the summary. And it's kind of like each one is sectioned out like this. You have your etiquette, your khutbah dua, your preparation. The message is focused on the focus, how to prepare the evidence for it, driving the impact. In the delivery, we'll talk about your posture, speech, eye contact. And then in the summary, we'll do some takeaways. And inshallah, Rayyan, Sheikh Rayyan, I should say, inshallah, will be helping us with a nice activity as a practical activity. And I encourage you all to stay for that because that was the most exciting, more exciting than any of my presentation. So stay for that, inshallah, and Rayyan will take over for your turn. Any questions? Yes? As interactive. I love interaction. So let's keep it as engaged as possible. If you guys have questions, just interrupt me, blurt at me. And I want to keep it natural and organic at the same time, inshallah. Jazakallah khair Abdul Ba'ath for pointing that out. Okay, so let's start here, which is where it's what really is the khutbah. This is very, very important to kind of start here because it's what the whole idea of your khutbah will be built upon. I want you to imagine this, that on Friday, all the Muslims around the world are gathering. So if there is a message that you want the entire Muslim ummah to engulf themselves and to adapt and to transform, this is the day. This is the day that impact is driven. In fact, historically, the one who delivers the khutbah is not the most scholarly person. Rather, it's the person who is governing in that certain area. Because if we want to drive a holistic message to change the ummah, this is how we do it. So the khutbah is a chance for the people to revive their iman and make that change practical. And that makes it a very hefty responsibility. It's not just like another halaqah that you're delivering and you're trying to give cool facts to people. That's nice. That has its own setting where people can benefit from a halaqah and that content. The point of the khutbah is that you're going to transform them. They're going to walk out a different person than they walked in. And I'm going to repeat that. The people who enter your khutbah are going to walk out a better person than how they walked in. So that's a highlight that you need to remember. And finally, that it's for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. You really, really need to work on this and remind yourself of this, that you're not doing this for the people. So what does that mean? I'm not doing this to tell people what they like to hear. If something is the truth, I'm not going to hide away from it. I'm going to speak the haqq in its fair way. I'm not doing this for status. I'm not doing this so people can call me a name, so I can see my name on that khutbah post that comes out every Thursday. That's not why I'm doing it, right? I'm not doing it to reshare it on my challenges is you have to be receptive to feedback you don't like. So if, for example, someone is going to give you constructive feedback about where you are lacking and where you are deficient, you're not going to be like, no, I did that because of that. No, it's actually right. Like you start becoming defensive. But if you're truly looking for feedback, that's good, right? And mashallah, Rayyan and the Khateeb review team, they're always going to try to give you feedback and collect feedback from the team that will benefit you. That's very important. And it's a showcasing of your sincerity. But you're not doing it to seek that attention and that recognition and so on and so forth. Look at me, I delivered the best khutbah. Look at how amazing and awesome I am. When you wouldn't have been able to do it except by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I don't know if I kind of, it's really in a gray zone. So you have to be very conscious about where my intentions are, where is my niyyah as you do it. Allah yabarak fikum. Anything else for this slide? I know it's very straightforward, but the reminder is very, very important as well, inshallah. Okay, we're going to go quickly into procedure. What are the requirements? This section we'll glimpse over it very quickly because most of you are familiar with it. We'll go over khutbah etiquette. So the first step is the khatib comes, says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And then the adhan is given. Now, you would want to come a little bit early to the khutbah to be able to select someone who, inshallah, can deliver a nice, beautiful adhan, not just a last-minute pick. And this is very important. This is not just like that, but the Prophet ﷺ chose Bilal for a reason, because he had the most beautiful voice, right? And so that means you also have to come on time. Then the Khateeb stands up and starts delivering the first part of the khutbah. The first section of that is the opening dua for the khutbah that you're all familiar with. Who can tell me what that is? Yasin? MashaAllah, excellent. Allahumma barik. He topped it off and bonus points too. So inshallah, if you weren't able to catch that, it's on the next slide. I'll show it in the next slide as well. And it will be shared with you, and you'll have it in your khutbah. This is just part of the etiquette of how we start our khutbah, is to start with that opening dua, inshallah. Yes, brother?
Were there different opening du'as, or was it only...
So that's the main one. That's the main one, and the core one that you want to try to have. But there are additional ones you can add on to it as well, right? وَأَنَّ كُلِّ مُحْدَثَةٍ بِدْعَةٍ وَكُلَّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ وَكُلَّ ضَلَالَةٍ فِي النَّارِ. And you can add other ones. But I want to focus on the essential, the core, to just deliver a sufficient khutbah. So then we can focus on delivery as well, inshallah. And then after you deliver your first khutbah, you conclude with istighfar, which is like astaghfirullah li wa lakum, مثلا, or walisa'il muslimin. And then you conclude your first khutbah. This is an opportunity for you to sit down, look at the time, see how you're doing in terms of time, look at what you're going to talk about in the next section, and as everyone is making istighfar as well. Finally, the Khateeb stands with Alhamd and Salat ala Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So it would be something along the lines of Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala ashraf al-anbiya'i wal mursaleen, something like that. And then you can dive into whatever left you have of your khutbah. And finally, you conclude your khutbah with a dua, and then the iqamah is given. Any questions about the etiquette? And yes, the iqamah would be given by the same person who gave the adhan. Straightforward, but I have to iterate it. Yes?
Does your dua have to be entirely in Arabic, entirely in English? Can you do both?
Very nice, very good question. I was hoping someone would ask. So in the dua at the end, what we try to say is try to have a little bit of Arabic and a little bit of English, right? The benefit of having the Arabic is you're going to stick to du'as that are from the sunnah, that the Prophet ﷺ said, that our salaf said. So it's good to have that. And it's good to have a little bit of English because a lot of our populace attending the Jumu'ah doesn't understand Arabic. So to give them something that they can also really feel and be a part of is important. Any other questions? Yes?
What about the opening dua? Should it only be in Arabic, or should also give a translation?
You can translate it thereafter. It's not critical, but you can. I know some khatibs prefer doing that as well. Okay, are we good on this slide? طيب. So this is the dua of the opening dua to the khutbah. If anyone wants to take a picture of it, they can, but we'll also share it with you guys, inshallah ta'ala. I'm just waiting because someone's taking a picture. Okay. Okay. Now we'll go into the khutbah preparation. So this is preparation for your khutbah itself. First and foremost, the biggest, the one I have at the top is to dress appropriately. And that is because I remember, maybe go back 2 years ago, when we were starting off these khatib workshops and whatnot, I remember seeing khatibs come up dressed like, I don't know, from the gym attire and whatnot. And it was kind of like, it's not befitting in that sense, right? It's important to dress appropriately, formally, because again, you're in the mimbar where the Prophet ﷺ would have been if he was alive. So just bearing that in mind and the responsibility that is important to present yourself that way. You wouldn't dress up to an interview in your, whatever. The khutbah, estimate, we want to try to do around 20 minutes. That is kind of the ideal length, but actually if you could do less, is better. And I would say concise is best. There is a famous saying that the most jewels of the words are little but powerful, right? And the Prophet ﷺ was very known to have jawami' al-kalim, with just small amount of words, but articulate a strong message. And in fact, actually on that note, there's also a saying, I think it's the Prophet ﷺ or Umar ibn Khattab, but I'll double check it, that it is from someone's fiqh of the religion that they condense the khutbah and prolong the salah. That is from the fiqh of the religion. Why? Because you understand the essential core is the salah itself. It's not about how beautiful your words are, but if you're able to condense it to the main idea that you want them to take, that's the most important. So that would look something along the lines of this: 13 minutes for the first khutbah and 7 minutes for the second khutbah. The first khutbah being 13 minutes is including the adhan, it's including the dua, and so on. And then the seventh khutbah, you're just wrapping it up with the dua and then leading with the salah. The length of the salah would be about half the length of the khutbah. So how much would that be? Come on, guys. Okay, you guys can count, right? I'm looking at a lot of engineers here. So it'd be 10 minutes, right? So that's half the length of the khutbah. So in total we have, mashallah, you guys need to work on your math, guys. How much do we have? 30 minutes. 30 minutes. This is what you want to cap it at. If you go any longer, you need to understand that people have their own classes, and if you're stretching it, they're going to be bored. They're going to start looking at that time. You don't want to be that khateeb that forces them to get distracted to look at their time. You want to keep it straight to the point and let them walk away with the most benefit. It was a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. I wanted to be certain, but it's in Sahih Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ said, "The lengthening of prayer by a man and the shortness of his sermon is a sign of his understanding of faith." So lengthen the prayer and shorten the sermon, for there is charm in precise expression. And the last point here, last 2 points, I'll get to your question 1 minute. Last 2 points here is to not come late. Because if you're going to come late, it doesn't leave a good impression. It makes the khutbah team stressed. They have to prepare someone. And it also gives you time to choose a good mu'adhin. And finally, verifying your tajweed. Now this is also an important component of the khutbah process, because if you're going to deliver the khutbah, you're also going to be leading the salah. That is the proper procedure. And so if you're going to lead the salah, we have a procedure to make sure that, the Fatiha is perfect. It's you're not making flaws that would make the salah deficient. So the 2 requirements we actually have to deliver a khutbah are attending the Khateeb workshop, and number 2, getting your tajweed verified. And I think you can circle in with Kamal regarding that point. Maybe Kamal, if you have any thoughts to add on that.
Ask Amir for tajweed.
Is he here this term?
No. He's doing it remotely. Yeah.
He's doing it remotely?
He's got it down.
Okay. So if you're a new Khateeb or an old Khateeb and you want to get your tajweed verified, you could speak to Kamal and he'll connect you with Samir, inshallah, and you can get that tajweed verified. Yes, Yusuf. Yes. You're right. You're right. Normally, even when I'm saying 20 minutes for a khutbah is a lot. And that's why I added concise is better. And if you could do less, it's better. Less is more. It's unfortunate that, and this is actually one of the signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah, that the sermons will become longer and the salahs will become shorter. SubhanAllah, we're walking into it. The awam of our nas, of people, are lacking a lot, so a khatib has to, prepare and whatnot. If you are able to make it concise and focus on the point, that is better. That's the essence of the hadith, and that's what we kind of want to highlight by mentioning all of this. You want to do the opposite, 20 minutes salah and 10 minutes khutbah? Yes, you're right. You're right. That is the proper procedure normally. But I'm saying the state of our ummah.
What if like 10 minutes khutbah, then 5 minutes prayer? Would that be
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So,
Oh, right, my bad, yeah. So I was thinking like, I mean, if you pray, like in the prayer, people are gonna get like, you're exhausted.
again, it's because you're praying and behind you is the one of weak iman, the one who is sick, the one who is ill. And this is also going back to another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, right? Where Mu'adh ibn Jabal one time was praying among the people. He was leading salah and someone came later and he joined the salah. But Mu'adh ibn Jabal is praying Aisha and he's praying with a long surah. So that Sahabi, what does he do? He makes salam and he's like, I'm going to go pray on the side. Right? I can't go through the long surah. Then when Mu'adh ibn Jabal heard about this story, he said something that he maybe shouldn't have, but he was like, this guy is nearing nifaq. Yani he's on that realm. Then that person, when he heard it, he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy, and of course, he's not a munafiq. So he went to the Prophet ﷺ and he told the Prophet ﷺ that story. Then the Prophet ﷺ calls Mu'adh and he tells him, أَفَتَّانٌ أَنْتَ يَا مُعَاذ? Are you causing fitna, ya Mu'adh? And then, because that person, actually, he comes from a family where they do farming and whatnot, so he has to wake up early morning, so he can't pray that long duration. And everyone has their own excuses and reasons. But the Prophet ﷺ tells Mu'adh, know that when you're leading salah, behind you is the old, behind you is, the weak, etc., the weak iman as well. So you have to be considerate of that as an imam as well. So this is where we have to strike a balance, and this is where that wisdom comes in. But I want to focus on the khutbah because what I've seen happen is people prolong a khutbah way too long, right? And that's when you doze off. That's when you see people start scratching the carpet and stuff, right? So try to make it as compact as you can. Is that good? Okay. Anything else for this slide? Okay. The next slide, you guys are going to love it. It's going to be awesome. Look at our khateebs, mashallah. So handsome, Allahumma barik. Sorry? The baseball hat?
I see Allah.
I see Ammar too, right there. Ammar right there, at the bottom left. So why am I showing this slide? Basically just to show dressing appropriately doesn't mean necessarily it has to be a thobe or it has to be a certain attire, but just dress formally. Dress in an appropriate, presentable manner. That's the essence of it. Okay? Okay, on to the next section, the message. Now we're getting a little bit into the nitty and gritty of the khutbah, preparing it, delivering it, the content, etc. The first section of that is focus. One important idea I really want to highlight is to when choosing a topic, stick to one main idea and that's it. It needs to be one idea and that's it. And everything else in your khutbah ties into this main idea. Nothing should be a tangent or just an additional FYI sort of thing. It really needs to be focused. And this is very important if you want them to retain it, if you want them to retain the information. Now, you can include examples along the way, but everything has to be tied to that main idea. And we'll talk a little bit more about how you do that. Choosing that main idea, I would say, is probably one of the most challenging things about this whole khutbah process. And personally, I spend maybe most of the time or a good chunk of the time in preparation just on choosing the idea. Because it's very difficult. Knowing the responsibility of the khutbah, knowing what you're trying to achieve and the transformation you want to drive, you really want to put effort in this. And a good step to analyze that is to start by looking at who your audience is. Looking at the society you live in. What's something that they need? What's something they need to hear? Not that they want to hear, they need to hear. And they need to change about themselves. Another good exercise to help you with this is introspection. Because you relate a lot with the people attending the khutbah. You're a university student. You are having similar struggles. You're around the same age. So what's something you would need to hear or a challenge that you're dealing with and delivering that as khutbah as well? Because it's an opportunity for you to improve yourself. And chances are, if you're dealing with it, a lot of other people are dealing with it as well. And then we mentioned this about going back to the focus. Everything should be tied back to the main topic. And then here are some examples. So these are some examples to give you an idea of what it could look like. You could have a khutbah about fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is entailing taqwa, but also that fear aspect. A lot of us nowadays don't fear doing the sins. We don't fear displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can centralize your whole khutbah around just that concept. How do we cultivate that in a nice manner? You could do it about pleasing your parents, focused on the point. You could do it about watching your language. You could do it about importance of salah, or being proud as a Muslim, being proud of your Islam that you have. Or you could do it about lowering your gaze. All of these topics here are ones that we deal with as a community. And let's be honest with us. A lot of us heard that last one, we're like, yes, mashallah, we know a lot of brothers challenged with it. So it's an important khutbah. Yet, I'm going to be honest, I don't remember the last time we had a khutbah about a topic relevant to that. So maybe this is an opportunity for one of you guys. It's important to focus about what the community needs to hear, right? And then keep your khutbah focused on that one topic. Yes, Habibi.
Just to look at the MSA in front of it, is there a limit to how, what we can talk about?
To repeat his question, he's like, just not to get the MSA in trouble, is there a limit on what we can talk about in the khutbah? Don't worry, the MSA put measures in place so they don't get in trouble. So they'll review your khutbah and help you deliver it in the best way, inshallah ta'ala. Not that we're going to restrict you. But really, it's what the community needs to hear, right? And focusing on that element, not getting too political is something you want to avoid, because politics is never a pretty game. But again, with wisdom, focusing on the Quran and Sunnah, focusing on what people need to transform about their lives. Of course, the Khateeb team is like, they're going to be like, go for it. They're going to help you. They're going to give you resources, and they're going to support you on it. So really, it's not very restrictive at all. And then if there are any points of feedback from the community, like we send out a form, you've probably seen it before, to collect feedback. That'll also be shared with you so you can get a good idea on how you did, inshallah. Yes, Yasin.
So is there like a range of emotions we should maintain, or should we like try and make it like still, or like what, like I don't know, sometimes you can get emotional, but could you like try to portray a certain emotion?
Can you elaborate on what you mean?
Anger, like maybe be a bit angry in a part, is that good or bad or not?
So you're talking more in terms of the delivery.
Yes or not?
Okay. Yes, so in terms of the delivery, like living your jumu'ah, inshallah we're going to talk more about it. But yes, you want to be feeling the things that you're saying, and you want to mean it as well. But you wouldn't go and be like, I want to, deliver a khutbah where I'm very angry, right? It's not backwards, rather it's the content that you're delivering is going to give you those emotions. Any other questions? Okay. We're good here? Yes? Okay. The next step, after you have an idea for your khutbah, you've chosen an idea, now you're going to, this idea is something the community needs to hear, it's something they need to change about their lives. Now I'm going to supplement it with evidences from the Quran and Sunnah and other places. So, just as we said, the first source of evidences you can pull from is ayat from the Quran. And I put between brackets here, recite the ayah. This is much preferred and recommended, because if you bring an ayah from the Quran, it's best to recite it as it was revealed. Any translation is subject to bias, it's subject to ta'wil in some sense. So recite it in Arabic, then you can translate it and elaborate on the meaning of the ayah.
What's ta'wil?
Ta'wil, very good question. Ta'wil is, it's taking a meaning and kind of using maybe a synonym or taking it away from its original state. So how can I explain this in a way that makes sense?
Lost in translation.
So yes, lost in translation. That's a big part of it. By translating, you're doing ta'wil. But you can also do ta'wil without translation. If I try to explain something to me in other words, that is a emphasis of ta'wil. The next section is, so after ayat is authentic ahadith. And this is your next source of evidence. And we put there authentic as an adjective because there's lots of ahadith out there, but you want to make sure the hadiths you're choosing are authentic. Who can tell me how we can know that? Yes, brother. Both are okay. MashaAllah, very good. As the brother said, sahih or hasan. This we can take from, inshallah. Which, states of hadith should we not take from? What would they be called? This is a bonus question. But who can tell me? Munkar. Yes, it's good. Yes? Da'if, mawdu'. Very good. So there's different levels, different states of authenticity. Mawdu' would be like a hadith that's, da'if is a weak hadith. Mawdu' is a hadith that is actually a lie. Munkar is a hadith that is odd, it doesn't seem right. So there's different rulings on that. What you guys should take, this is just bonus points for my khateebs who are leaders, Allahumma barik. But what you guys want to focus on is the hadith that you take is sahih or hasan. Now a really good source to know this is sunnah.com, which you guys are probably familiar with. They do a really good job in doing that collection. There are other sites as well, but sunnah.com is a good start because it has the Arabic and the translation as well. Yes?
So there's no thing that we should avoid
No, hasan is taken from as well and something we practice. And then you also might get hasanun sahih. Tirmidhi introduced this ruling of hasanun sahih. You can also take from that as well. Are we good here? Yes, Yasin.
some hadith, there's like some a'imma said it's like it's hasan or like sahih, and some said it's da'if. Depending if anyone has like slightly different opinions and slightly different points of view on different people and different sanad. So as long as someone trustworthy said it's sahih, should I take it or should I just go with something?
Good question. So Yasin is asking, what if a hadith has differences of opinion? Some people say it's sahih, some people say it's da'if. Should I take it, should I not? I would say first step is try to see, is there a hadith that supports your main idea that you don't have to deal with this ambiguity? See, look for a hadith that is sahih, and maybe that would be sufficient for you. Okay, you looked, you couldn't find anything, you're resulting in this. If you really feel like you need to say the hadith, then just add the caveat as well, that there is conversation on the authenticity of this one, right? That's the best that you can do. Wallahu alam. Are we good? Amazing. The next thing that I added as sources of evidence is stories of the prophets. Now, why did we put this into complementary khutbah? Is because stories, I want you guys to think about this. When you're attending the khutbahs that you remember very profoundly, most and often they had a story. They had some kind of story. And the stories of the prophets, a lot of people, some people don't know the stories of the prophets. And by telling them this khutbah and tying in the story of the prophet, every time they hear that story, they're going to remember the lesson you taught them as well. And so there's a lot of khair coming from that, and the prophets are the best of examples for us. So it's very good to take from that. And then you also have the stories of the Sahaba as well as profound sources of evidence you can use. One thing you want to try to avoid is people's opinions. Caveat, only accredited scholars. You try to avoid quoting, 21st century Western academic in your khutbah when you can quote the Prophet ﷺ or the Quran or a story of the Sahaba. You can include, quotes from accredited scholars like Ibn al-Qayyim or Ibn Taymiyyah if it's related to your khutbah, but try to avoid things that can fall into those situations. One time I saw a khateeb deliver a khutbah and quote someone who was like a Western academic and whatnot, who I believe wasn't Muslim, and I was like, this person also did a lot of other things too, right? So then you fall in that situation where you're in some ways promoting someone that you're not sure what other content they might do or they've done, right? Wallahu alam. One also point here is the khutbah review team will ask for authentic evidence and of your statements, and they'll also help you bring hadiths to supplement your khutbah, inshallah. Any questions on this slide on sources of evidence for your khutbah? No? Yes. Good question. So I mentioned that for the ayat, because the ayat is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purely. That's the one you really want to emphasize. As for the hadith, it's okay if you said it in English. If you could say it in Arabic and then in English, that's bonus points. But even for brothers who maybe are not too strong in Arabic, you can say it in English, inshallah. And the last thing, you'll notice I didn't just say read the ayah in Arabic. I said recite it. That's the optimal. The ayat, the Quran was revealed with tajweed. So when you go over the ayah, you need to recite it with tajweed. Ibn al-Jazari says, وَالْأَخْذُ بِالتَّجْوِيدِ حَتْمٌ لَازِمُ مَنْ لَمْ يُجَوِّدِ الْقُرْآنَ آثِمُ. And taking from tajweed is essential, it's core, it's lazim. And whoever doesn't take from tajweed is taking ithm. Because, and he explained in the rest of the poem, because it is the tajweed the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran with. And so now you are retracting from that. Rayyan.
What's the reason that there's more leniency with the hadith not being recited in Arabic?
So in terms of the hadith, there is like, there's a huge study of scholars to determine a hadith's authenticity. And hadiths are collected in different ways. It's a whole kind of like science, if you will. Some hadiths have more than others. Some hadiths have different words used for others. So it's not the same comparable as the Quran, which is the one compact, these are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So that's why we want to kind of treat it a little bit differently. Does that kind of answer your question? Okay. Maybe more elaboration, inshallah, we could do post if you want, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. I know all of this content has been amazing, wonderful, Allahumma barik. But I'm not someone who loves talking too much. I love to include my audience and engage with them like Abdul Ba'ath was suggesting. So what we're going to do now is do a little exercise. We're going to work together in this workshop to deliver a khutbah together. We're going to prepare the khutbah together. We're going to prepare all the content for it, inshallah ta'ala. And that way we can be a part of this exercise together. I chose a topic right here about watching our language. Can you guys help me, collect evidences that we can use for a khutbah about watching your language and what you say? It's okay, you can use Google, guys. You're not restricted. But if someone has on the top of their mind, Allahumma barik. Yes, Musa. Say it again. Surah Al-Hujurat, any ayah in specific?
The verses about like backbiting and verses about calling people by names.
MashaAllah. So Musa is referring to the ayat about backbiting in Surah Al-Hujurat, about how talking about your brother behind his back is like eating from your brother's dead meat, and so on. Surah Al-Humazah. Yes, can you elaborate on that?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is cursing the backbiter and the slander, and we can basically elaborate on the points.
MashaAllah.
It's a pure point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is directly trying to curse you, and you should be introspecting, am I a person
That's a very good one, mashallah. I haven't, I delivered this Khateeb workshop many times, but I haven't heard that surah being mentioned. It's a very good one. وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ. Same topic. No, I didn't. It's fresh every time. And subhanAllah, no one delivered this khutbah yet. Every time I do it, but no one delivered it yet. But the surah he mentions is very important. وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. The one who is like maybe drawing a sign for, like a kind of like a derogative sign or saying something bad about their brother or sister in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is cursing them, right? What else? Rayyan? MashaAllah, MashaAllah, very good. The Sahih Hadith by Muslim, that the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who believes in Allah in the last day, let him say good or be silent. Very good, MashaAllah. Yes, Yasin. MashaAllah, Allahumma barak. Can you translate it for us, Yasin? MashaAllah. So in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says that the mu'min is not one who picks at the faults at others and blames them and so on. And he's not one who curses a lot. And he's not one that says words that are fahish, that are illicit and obscene. Yes, and so on, mashallah. Abdul Ba'ath. MashaAllah, mashallah, very good. Now, I do want to just add a little caveat here. I love the point Abdul Ba'ath brought, and I think it's a from the story of Abasa wa Tawalla and what happened and the lessons to take from that as well. The only thing I'd bear in mind, and this is why I'm doing this exercise, is the evidences you choose. You want to make sure that they're focused on your main idea. So that one is a little bit different than speech, than the language. Because the Prophet ﷺ, tawalla, he kind of just turned his way, right? Which is a different point in and of itself, the way you treat others and so on and so forth, right? And of course, there's reasoning and so on. So that story needs its own time as well. Do you get what I mean, Abdullah? So like in the evidences you choose, make sure that it's focused on your main idea as well. Yes, Hassan.
Asked him, tell me something to do that would allow me to enter paradise, and one thing to do that would keep me far away from Jahannam. So Sayyidina Muhammad said, then he said, ما معناه, would you like me to tell you the end, you know, the entirety of all of this stuff? And he held this thing and said, hold this. So Sayyidina Mu'adh ibn Jabal asked him, يعني ما معناه, are we does God
accountable?
Yeah, are we accountable for what we say? So Sayyidina Muhammad said, أو يكب الناس على وجوههم في النار أو يكب الناس على وجوههم في النار إلا حصائد ألسنتهم. Does anything but this, like what you say, drag you on your face in Jahannam? Yeah, and that's hadith Hasan Sahih.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. It's a beautiful hadith. It's one in the Arba'in al-Nawawiyah. And basically the Prophet ﷺ, I'm just repeating it for the camera. The Prophet ﷺ is saying to Mu'adh the essence of Islam. And the Prophet ﷺ summarized it by saying, Kuffa alayka hadha. And he held his tongue. Hold on to your tongue. And then Mu'adh asked, are we going to be accountable for everything that we say? And the Prophet ﷺ said, oh yeah, Mu'adh, in that essence, oh yeah, Mu'adh, if only you knew. That is it not the reason that the people in Jahannam are going to be dragged on their noses and on their faces Yawm al-Qiyamah? They're going to be dragged on that because of the words that they were saying and the fahash that was coming out of their mouths. Okay, I'm going to tie it off with just one last one. We mentioned a lot. Yes, brother?
Abu Darda said that, I reported that the Prophet said that nothing will be heavier on the day of resurrection in the scale of the believer than good manners. Allah hates the one who earns power for something.
Okay, mashallah, that's a good one. The hadith is that nothing will be heavier in the scales Yawm al-Qiyamah than good manners. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates the one who speaks fahish and curses. Is that correct? Yes, mashallah. These are all very good evidences. And Allahumma barak, you guys collected a lot. All of these are things that you can take. The main point of this exercise is to show that when you look out there, there's a lot of authentic evidences you can bring for any topic, right? You're not forced to go to some obscure source, right? And at the same time, we're also learning how do we take a hadith or a ayah and relate it to our topic. Now, Musa mentioned an evidence, one of the evidences he mentioned was backbiting and calling people names and so on. This is very good. They're good to add as examples, right? You want to make sure when you're delivering your khutbah, you don't start focusing too much on backbiting. Because what's going to end up happening is now your topic has become backbiting, which is a good topic, right? And should be given its own khutbah about how we should avoid backbiting. But you want to make sure that I don't derail into just one single topic unless it's purposeful for the khutbah itself. Just give me a minute here. So there's some... Yes, just 1 second. So we also collected some evidences here. These are some of the things, I believe you guys mentioned some of them. So this is the one that Rayyan mentioned, that he who believes in Allah in the last day, let him either speak good or be quiet. And it's not even like speak bad. If you're going to speak bad, be quiet. If it's not good, don't talk. Subhanallah. Then Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu also narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said that a person may utter something. You might say something and you don't think twice about it. You don't think it's a big deal. But it's the reason that that person ends up in Jahannam. And the full hadith continues, and also the Prophet ﷺ said that someone might say something of goodness and not realize it or think twice about it, but it could be the reason for them to enter Jannah. Okay, and this is Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. Both evidences are included here. And one also thing I'll add here is when you do say your hadith and you bring it in the khutbah, one thing I also recommend is to say the authenticity of the hadith. Say this is in Sahih Muslim. Say this is in Sahih Bukhari. Why? I want someone other than Rayyan. Why? Yes. Yes, you're showing the credibility of it, right? You're not just making something up that the Prophet ﷺ said. Why else? Yes? It gives reference for people to look. Yes, what else? One additional reason I'll add to it is that subhanallah, our ummah has gotten to a state where people take ilm from anywhere. And by saying where your source is, you're showcasing to people that you don't take your ilm from anywhere. You need authentic verification of the sources as well. So you're teaching people to be a little bit more studious, a little bit more academic, a little bit more value and diligence to their ilm and where they're getting it from as well. Yes?
Something I believe might be more important in those is sometimes you just take the part you need and you leave the rest, or you take the part and elaborate, and then when you get to the rest, one time in khutbah, like you mentioned the hadith that halal bayin on haram bayin, and then stop. But this one, like on its own, because your audience might have people with less knowledge, so it might cause fitna or confusion at least. The rest of the hadith destroys all the fitna that could happen, but you don't mention it.
Yes, that's a good point that Yasin is bringing. Okay, let's say I have a long hadith. Do I have to mention the whole thing? How should I go about this? Now, you want to mention the part that is relevant if you are trying to extract the relevant part of the hadith in a way that doesn't detract from the meaning, is what Yasin is suggesting. So in that hadith, number 6 from An-Nawawi, is the halal is clear and the haram is clear. And if someone was saying the hadith and then stopped there and didn't continue, it's deficient to the completion of the meaning. The completion of the meanings between them are matters that are ambiguous. And the one who stays away from the ambiguous matters, he protected his deen and he protected his honor. And the one who falls in the ambiguous matters has fallen into haram. So this is the relevant part. You want to make sure that you're not detracting from the meaning or it'll cause confusion. Now, Yasin, this is to your point. If you ended the hadith here, it would be better. Even though the full hadith continues. Then the Prophet ﷺ talks about the heart. And this is very relevant to the heart as well. But if your idea was just to bring that idea of the ambiguous matters, you can stop it here. Does that kind of make sense, guys? In terms of like preserving the full idea. I'll go back to brother because you had a question. I didn't forget.
So does it matter if you get hadiths that are, I guess, less known to today's standards compared to...
So they're still authentic?
Yeah, obviously. Every requirement met, because maybe less known hadiths would, I guess, hit or make an impact, or does that not matter?
You can bring it. It depends on the relevancy to your topic, to be honest. If you feel that a lot of people are not familiar with this hadith, and thus the ones they're familiar with, they've kind of just, gotten used to sort of thing. So you want to bring one that's new, but it's authentic. Allahumma barak. That's good as well. Okay, let's move on.
I just had one question.
Yes.
It was about the story from Surah Abbas.
Abbas wa
where,
tawalla.
You mentioned that you could make a whole khutbah on that.
Yeah.
What I wanted to kind of clarify was that you said to make your khutbah very clear focused.
Yes.
If you make a khutbah based on are you saying it's okay to make a khutbah based on a story, or are you saying to derive a lesson from that story and make that your focus, and then highlight the story?
Good question. Good question. And Jazakallah khair for clarification. I think it was more of the latter. So like you have a story that has a specific lesson. Let's say, for example, you listen to a recent khutbah or a halaqah where that story is being told, and something hits you profoundly, and you think the community needs to hear it. You can recollect that story and emphasize on certain parts, and at the same time, there is some learning about the character of the Prophet ﷺ and how that whole situation was dealt with at the same time. Yeah. Wa iyyakum habibi. Okay, now we're going to go into the next section, just so we can continue. The next part is, okay, we've gotten all the evidences, we've chosen a topic, we focused the topic, and now we're collecting all the evidences that we have for that khutbah. Now we want to prepare the content in a way that it's touching to people. And a big part of this is we need people to question yourself. Now, maybe I could have phrased this better, but more of reflect, introspection. I don't just go there and you talk to me about, all the khair, all the good things that one should do, and I'm just standing there and I'm like, Allahumma barak, that's me, man. I'm that amazing person. My place in Jannah is secured, right? And all the believers, Allahumma barak, they're going to enter into na'im of Jannah. And then you start talking about Jahannam, and I'll be like, oh, those kuffar are going to get it. They're going to get punished. They're going to get all the worst punishment, right? Some people are attending your khutbah and that's how they'll take it. But what will drive the difference in that transformation is the introspection. No, there are things you need to fix in your life. And I need to give examples, right? So that's the next part here. And those examples ideally is relating to the actions they do on a daily basis. So let's say we take the example of, lowering your gaze, right? This is one that people can maybe reflect more easily on because they're a little bit more vocal on. But take it as an example. How many people reflect on your social media and you start scrolling on Instagram? How much awra are you just seeing? Just that alone. Are you lowering your gaze there? Or do you think it doesn't apply because this is your phone? It only applies in person. Where do you get this idea from? We've become so accustomed to looking at awra that you could see a news reporter without hijab and her hair is all showing, and you wouldn't think twice that this is the awra of her. This is her awra. Right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? You would think that this is normal, but this is the fasad that we've gotten to. So this is now when I'm bringing it into realize, you're realizing that, oh no, this is a serious matter we need to draw. How can we improve this? These examples on a daily basis are very, very important, right? Or for example, when you talk about, what's another topic? Pleasing your parents. Okay, I want to give an example about pleasing your parents. When you get that phone call from your dad or your mom in your class, do you just say, I'll answer it later and just put it aside? Or do you say, I'll answer it and tell them, I'm in class, is everything okay? Which is better? Which is more respectful and obedient to your parents? The lecture, you can catch up, right? And at the end of the day, what's more important to you? What's more core to what really matters to you? It's your parents. Or for example, when you go home and your mom, you're tired, you had a long day, you had a lot of studies, you had a lab to finish, you come home late and you just want to go to bed and your mom says, can you help me set up the table or clean the house? And you're like, oh, right? You can easily do that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and don't even say oof. This is a part of oof. You're saying, oh, you think this is oof. So these examples and really relating to something they do on a daily basis is how you'll drive that introspection. Now I realize that I'm not all rainbows and sunshine, but there are things I need to improve and fix before walking out of this khutbah. Providing examples, we mentioned that. The people attending have to reflect. And there's a famous quote that, honestly, I looked into the authenticity of it. I wasn't sure, but it's something famous they attribute to Umar ibn Khattab, which I think is nice, nonetheless. It's حَاسِبُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ قَبْلَ أَن تُحَاسَبُوا. Hold yourself accountable before you will be held accountable. And the rest of the quote goes, and weigh your deeds before they are weighed. Yawm al-Qiyamah. So this is very, very important for us to internalize. Any questions on this part? I'm just going to look quickly at my notes if there was anything that I also wanted to add. No, we're good. Anything on this note? Okay. MashaAllah. I guess you guys found it so easy to understand. So you're going to help me. Back to our topic here. So Allahumma barik. We have the khutbah topic of watching your language. We brought the evidences. I need you guys to help me bring points of introspection related to people's lives, things that we do, things we can improve. How can we be better walking out of your khutbah? What do people need to hear? Okay. Who wants to start? Yes, Amar.
That watching your language isn't just related to being in the masjid or in the Muslim community, but how we interact with every other person outside of our community, and how we interact with, say, friends who are Muslim, who will bring these certain phrases and whatever that isn't okay for us to say.
MashaAllah, very good. So Ammar is saying that watching your language isn't just in the Muslim communities, but it's also in the non-Muslim communities. This is a very good elaboration. It's an important point. But I also want to tie in some introspection here as well, right? Because your point is really good, but where's my introspection? Maybe you can add on to it. Maybe you give examples. Yes, can you give us one?
Say I have friends who are non-Muslim, I'm hanging out in the gym, they say, look at that, and or say like, not necessarily look at that, but like, oh, they start speaking about someone,
Yes.
and you
Indulge in it, right? Or you refrain, etc. MashaAllah. See, now you're tying in an example. Imagine you're in the gym and you're with some of your friends who might not be Muslim, and they start commenting about other people, or they might speak behind someone's back, etc. How do you interact? Do you indulge? Do you laugh along and say, yeah, that's hilarious, and add on to it? Or do you refrain? Do you advise? How do you react to that? This is very good. Just the point is focusing on watching your language too. It might get into suhbah salihah, etc., etc. So trying to just tie that in, yes.
How long do you wait before you speak? Do you think before you speak?
Very good.
What was that?
Very good.
Every time you need to talk to somebody, it doesn't have to be Islamic, it doesn't have to be anything related to it. Because everything we do is part of our language, right? Whenever you talk to somebody, do you think, oh, am I going to say something that I will regret the day of judgment?
MashaAllah, very beautifully said. Hanafi is saying that before you say something, how often do you reflect, am I going to say something that I will regret on the day of judgment? Is this something that's going to bring me closer to Allah or away? And the Prophet ﷺ said, if it's not good, be quiet. So you really need to evaluate. Quietness is the standard. Only if it's good, then you should speak. Subhanallah. Yes, Abdulbad. He's encapsulating us. Very good. Keep going.
When you go to roosters, let's say you guys are in a car chilling, and someone just cut you off. What's the first word you want to say?
That's good. That's good. MashaAllah. Said like a true boss. Allahumma barik. Saying that, imagine you're on the road, you're driving to your way, to your business, and someone cuts you off very quickly, jumping in your way. What's the first thing that comes out of your mouth? Is it like curse word? Or is it something pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Very good. Very good example of watching your language. Anything else? And I want more examples for this section because this is really, really important. This is what will actually make your khutbah impactful. This will take it from just, oh, hadith, ayah, which is really important. Okay, you've given me all this information, but I'm not going to change anything in my life. I'm not actually going to change anything. This is what's going to make me change my life. Yes, Musa. Oh, he's like, no, no, you can hit it deeper. Yes, Tayyib.
Sometimes we might say something that is considered normal, but we are actually committing minor shirk, if not major shirk. For example, if you hit your toe with something, I say, holy shit, or something like that. That is why. Because saying something so
Yes. MashaAllah. This is very similar to the point that Abdul Ba'ath is adding on. It's like an addition with that, you know, if you stub your toe, what's the first thing that you say? And you also want to make sure that, you know, some people will stub their toe and say, Jesus Christ. It's like, okay, you want to elaborate on that? Why are you saying that? You know? Yes, Rayyan.
You can try to get the audience to recall back a time where, remember that time when you made that offhand joke about a friend and everyone erupted laughing. Was that a joke that, and you can be related back to the hadith about someone who says one wrong word, and that's what led them to Jahannam?
MashaAllah.
Was the word that you said something that could have led you to Jahannam or Jannah?
SubhanAllah. It's a very, very good example and powerful one. He's saying that imagine that time. Remember that time when you were with your friends and you may have said a joke about someone. They could have been from the gathering or from outside the gathering. But you made this joke and then everyone erupted in laughing. Could this have been that one word that might be the means to Jahannam? And you didn't think twice about it? And not to mention, in the example you brought, is very powerful. Why? Because this is compounded ithm. It would have been already bad if you said it to one person, but now you said it in a group of friends too, and everyone is laughing and everyone's enjoying in your, you know, that behavior. Yes, Aman.
It's a more general kind of behavior that I just want to point out. Alhamdulillah, it's going in this topic, but this applies to any topic. When you present the hadith and the evidences and so on, when you're doing the introspection, it's really important to tie it back to the hadith that you presented. That teaches people that when I'm evaluating myself, what criteria do I use? Do I use Jordan Peterson's book or something, or do I use the hadith and the sunnah, the stuff that I've learned?
Very good. Allahumma barak. Do you want to elaborate on an example on that, or you just wanted to?
What I understand.
Okay.
Really good, right?
MashaAllah.
We just talked about the hadith, right? Like the
Yes.
word takes you to Jahannam or to Jannah. And when you're reflecting, when you're doing this introspection, you reference that hadith that you cited. You say,
Yes.
maybe this was the word, right? And that's what drives home
Amazing.
the evidence. Right?
Amazing, amazing. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Excellent point by Aman, MashaAllah. That when you're referencing your hadith and you're giving your introspection, it's important to tie the understanding with the hadith. Because that's kind of like the basis and the foundation. You're also showing them that that's our metric of understanding the sunnah. Very beautiful. Allahumma barak. Anything else? Musa, do you have another one for me? Musa, you got to give me one, man. Musa, you got to give me one. All right. Last one, Muhib. Last one. Go ahead. Yeah. Wasi, sorry.
I was thinking that you know your words are being recorded and they're going to be presented to you on the day of resurrection. Do you really want foul language and any other bad language on your record like that? And
MashaAllah.
Then it will be presented to everyone else.
Yes.
So do you want everyone else to see?
MashaAllah. So to Wasi's point, that everything you say and you do will be recorded. Do you want that presented Yawm al-Qiyamah? And are you prepared for that? Let me add on to that an exercise for more introspection, right? To make it a little bit deeper. Everything is being recorded, right? We all know this. Everyone knows this. Everyone attending your khutbah is going to know this. We all know this, right? They'll tell you the names of the two angels writing for you. People know this. The problem isn't knowledge. It's actually application. It's true introspection. So you can give an example. We know everything's recorded. Imagine if I put a recorder for your life. That you have a camera that's recording everything you are saying. Everything is a constant recorder. You can try this exercise yourself. Put a recorder and continue on your day. And the recording will be done. Maybe it'll kill your phone too. By the end of it, your phone will be dead. But the recording, inshallah, will be saved. And listen to how much you just spoke. I'm not even saying good or bad. Let's put that aside about the words themselves. How many words came out of your mouth that you're going to be accountable for? You will be shocked. You will be shocked. You speak so much. We talk too much. Too much we talk. Then add to that the things that we say and we don't remember. Do you remember what you said? Who is the first person you met today? And what did you tell them? I bet you can't even remember that. Who the first person you met when you came to campus, and what did you say to them? Now imagine that's something you're going to be held accountable for. Things you can't remember today, they're written in your record. Are you prepared for that? See, now I'm tying that example and tying it in with the words that you're saying, and then tying it in with the hadith as well. Say good or be quiet. Because once you say a word, It's like an arrow. It's never coming back. It's like an arrow, it's never coming back. But if you kept it inside and you thought twice about it, you can make sure it's in khair. I said last one for Wasi, but go ahead. Just
To add on, like what you're saying, it's like to take it even a little bit further.
Yeah.
Say those words are going to be recited, like your words are going to be said in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment.
Yes.
So feel that as well. Feel that shame that you will have of uttering whatever words that you did. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll have them recited in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes, 100%, mashallah. You're gonna get a full playthrough of your life, bro. Wallah, we're not ready for it. I mean it wholeheartedly. We're not ready for it. We're not. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Yes, Rayyan.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
So thinking about, I kept getting ideas about lying.
Yes.
Would you say even something as lying, like lying, which is about your language to some extent, you think even that's not too focused enough for what you're...
I think that's good. I would tie it similar to Musa's point. What I would do is I'd probably mention it as examples. Because people think watching your language is a foreign thing. I need to tell them in what you should watch your language. Don't backbite. Don't lie. Speak the truth. Don't comment on someone's appearance. Don't talk behind someone's back. All of these things, just tying it in. And then I mention it briefly. But I don't derail my whole topic. I'm like, oh, lying. On that note. And I start going off. And now my khutbah became about lying. It's beneficial if I had the topic about lying. But now I'm derailing the focus a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. These are questions, right?
No, I was just gonna like say what I want.
Brother, okay, go ahead. Musa's special. Forgive me, guys.
No, I understand. What I wanted to say was, one of the major reasons or causes people like aren't really careful with their tongue is because the value of your brothers and sisters, or like how the value they hold of your brothers. So I was gonna give an example of like, let's say you see like you get a package at your house, you're really excited because like it's a package coming to your house. Then you see like the delivery man, how kind would you be to him? Your brother and sisters are more valuable to you than that person because they give you the salam because they have that right.
That's good.
So it's just an example I was gonna give.
It's a good example, mashallah, and it's a true one. Now, how do we make sure that when we mention that example, we don't derail it into treating your family in goodness? Or treating your brothers in goodness, right? You'd have to be wise because it's a true example, and a lot of people could relate to it, right? But you have to be wise in terms of, okay, is this example worth it, or is it going to derail it to a different focus, all right? But it can definitely be brought in. Yassine, was that a question or something you want to add?
I wanted to add an ayah.
Khalas, I tied it off with Musa. Bonus points, Ammar and Musa. Let's get it there, inshallah. Yes?
Yeah,
Question, yes.
The topic of idle talk.
The topic of?
Idle talk.
I didn't get.
Idle talk.
Idle talk, yes.
What's an example
Of idle talk?
there is?
Yeah, I would say, when you go to, I'll bring the example of the bath about roosters, and you just spend like hours, talking with your friends about the soccer game, and then about movies, and then about this, and about that, to an extent where now it's just occupying a large majority of your time. It's idle talk. You could have been spending that time with so much khair. You could have spent that time studying future, studying other courses and programs you want to do. You could be doing your work. You could have been reciting Quran. You could have been praying together. You could have been doing so much khair. So now that idle talk is detracting from all that khair you could have been doing. That's idle talk. It's wasting your time at that point. You know what I mean? Yeah. Wallahu a'lam. Anything else? Okay. Question for you guys in terms of engagement. How do you guys feel in terms of flow? Is it good? Okay. Are we going too fast? Do you guys want us to speed up? Or we're good? We're good. MashaAllah. Okay. Some examples that I also brought here just as other thoughts. I think most of you guys mentioned points, but let's bring them out. Remember that time you were hanging out with friends and you said something you shouldn't have? Rayyan mentioned something to this extent. Do you not think that Allah hears everything that you say? This is similar to Wasi's point. Here's a different look at watching your language. When was the last time you said a kind word to someone? When was the last time you complimented someone? Similarly to refraining from bad language, how much positivity are you bringing? If you see how much khair and goodness the Prophet ﷺ spoke, you would be surprised, right? So that's equally as important. And it's very easy to say a kind word that could make someone's day. Do you remember that time that someone said something good to you and wallah, you felt like you were on top of clouds? You could be a means for that. And it doesn't cost you 2 breaths. Do you think about the words you say before you speak, to Ahmed's point? Or do you just talk whatever your tongue wants? My grandmother used to say, the tongue is the only muscle that has no bone around it. And that's why it's constantly just running and talking. Your tongue utters the words of the Quran. This is a different way to introspect. Your tongue that utters the words of the Quran doesn't have room for that filthy language. Doesn't have room for that fahish language. No. That's why, as Yasin brought the hadith, that the mu'min is not someone who speaks language of fahish. Because these 2 things don't tie in one with the Quran. So you see all of these points is approaching that introspection from different directions. And it's good to have many things to tie in that introspection. Because someone might relate to this hits them. Someone might relate to the top one, that might hit them. But use them all and really drive that impact. Are we good with so far? Okay, we talked about etiquettes of the khutbah, preparation for it, duration, procedural things. We talked about choosing main idea, collecting evidences, making it introspective. Now we're going to go over delivery. How are we doing on time? Awesome.
Hoping for us by 7:20.
7:20? Rayyan was saying.
Yes, 7:20 would be good.
Okay.
If you think you need a little longer,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
Aim for 7:20.
7:20, and then we'll come back for the activity?
Yes.
Okay, amazing, inshallah. We should be done before 7:20, inshallah.
If you need it like plus minus 5 minutes, go for it.
I'll try to do minus 5 minutes so people can do wudu. Okay, delivery. So now you have the content, you have the evidences. Now we're going to talk about actually on the day of things to bear in mind for an exceptional delivery. The first thing is posture. This is really, really important and a lot of people belittle. I said posture and everyone was like, Hamadache, they just fixed themselves in their chairs. Okay, so the first thing is to stand upright, not kind of leaning or to your side, standing upright. Sah? And legs at shoulder width. So not kind of like tight like this, it looks very awkward, and not Cristiano Ronaldo, but like somewhere that's shoulder width, where you're normal and you have that posture. And your hand gestures go a long way. Use your hands to kind of drive that energy. The Prophet ﷺ used his hands in many occasions where he would say, you know, when he would talk about the shahada, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would point up, at-taqwa ha-huna, taqwa is right here, bu'ithu ana wa sa'a kahatain, I was sent in the sa'a like these two, you know, etc., etc. So the Prophet ﷺ is using these hand gestures to really visualize those things, and you can use it as we're all of us are one ummah, and we have to be strong together. All of these hand gestures, I'm now giving verbal cues with visual cues, and it ingrains the meaning deeper. The other thing is moving a little. Don't stay frozen in one place. Be a little bit, you know, alive, right? Not a statue. One thing that helps here is being a little bit on the toes of your feet, or what's it called? The ball of your feet, right? Because then you're a little bit pumped. This is like Muay Thai stance or something, you know what I mean? So you're gonna be a little bit like that, not just on your heels, because if you're on your heels, you're kind of stuck and you're not moving anywhere, but a little bit on the balls of your feet. Any questions on this? Awesome, moving on. Speech. So we talked about the posture, now we're gonna talk about the speech. The first point here is to speak in a language that the audience understands. Not Pashto. But by language, I don't merely just mean that language, but I mean also in a language that is not extremely sophisticated to the, you know, Jordan Peterson level where it's just exaggerated, you know what I mean? And also, you're not speaking street language. You know, what's up fam, how you doing, you know what I mean? But it's something that is that is keeping the formality of the khutbah, but it's also something that the people understand. Like Ali ibn Abi Talib said, خَاطِبُ النَّاسَ بِمَا يَفْهَمُونَ, to talk to the people in a language that they understand and they comprehend. And so that's where we said not too high level and not too informal. Now, again, I said not too high level, but our high level nowadays is low. So you could go a little higher. We're in an academic setting, so using precise terminology is also accredited nonetheless. Also, in speaking in a language that the audience understands, being clear with no misunderstandings or confusions. This one's tough, but it's very important. When you're preparing the content for your khutbah, you really need to evaluate the things that I'm saying, can they be misunderstood? Even though what I'm saying is correct, and it's right, and it's good, but can someone misunderstand this and take this the wrong way? If so, how can I change my language and my speech so that there is no misunderstandings? It's very clear what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense? And this is very, very important, because you can say something, someone else can come back and be like, this guy was talking about X, Y, and Z. Like I can say, Islam gave a lot of rights to people, a lot of freedoms. And someone might say, Islam is a liberal religion. And you say that because that's what you mean, but someone else will be like, liberal? To what extent? Islam is liberal? You know what I mean? So I really need to clarify. If I'm going to use this word, what does it mean? People are going to understand. They have different definitions for it. Or is it better if I just avoid this word entirely and I can get my meaning across in another way? So this is where that hikmah comes in. And here, the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'izati al hasanah." Call to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with wisdom. You have to use that wisdom and good advice. Tone is the next point that we have in speech, which is kind of the two or three things that I want to emphasize here is to be confident, mature, and serious. Don't be afraid to be confident and to talk at a tone that shows that confidence, and to be brave on speaking the truth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed. Remembering that you're representing Islam will help you be confident in the words that you're saying. And of course, more preparation will help with that as well. Also in tone is the manner in which you say things. So if I'm talking about something good, like Jannah, I have to smile. I have to really say it in goodness and feel that in my tone. But then if I start talking about Jahannam, the way I say it can show the gravity of Jahannam and the harm that it'll incur, the punishment, the severity. You see how I changed my tone too? That's kind of just an example of it. So this ties a little bit to what Yassine was saying earlier in terms of the tone in which you say things. And it's very similar to rhythm. There's a little bit of a distinction there. I think to keep it simple, try to make sure your khutbah is not monotone. You're not speaking at one frequency, at one volume, decibel, perfectly like that from start to finish, because people will sleep. So try to have some inflection and try to talk softly at times. And when I talk softly, you guys will do a better effort to try to hear what I'm saying. But then when I talk harshly and I talk loudly, you will have no choice but to hear what I'm saying. All right? So this is where you have to use it in wisdom and try to be wise in when you use those things. And the last thing, or one of the last things, is pauses. You saw that? I used it there. It was good. So pauses. These can be very, very powerful. And I can't exaggerate enough how powerful pausing in your lectures is. Abdul Baath, I will come to you. I see your hand, wallahi. But pauses is so powerful. You can use pauses before you say something, while you say something, and after you say something. So before you say something, you saw how I created the suspense before I showed those pauses? You're anticipating, you're waiting what I'm going to say. Or if I say, there's such a powerful hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said. So powerful. Every time I hear it, it touches me. You're already waiting. I got you all engaged. I didn't even say anything. But you're already feeling that this hadith is amazing. Right? You're feeling it. You're almost living the hadith before it's even said. So that's before. What'd you say? Aura, exactly. Or during it, I say it and I pause during it. Make each word clear. And I give you time to input the words into your brain, analyze them, comprehend them, and then I'll load more words in as well. And pauses after. After I say something so powerful, and I tell you, I want you to really think about that. Think about it in your life. Now you're really reflecting about it. And you have to give you time. Again, what do we want? We want introspection. You need to give them time to do that introspection, even if it's 5 seconds. But that is time, processing time. But if I keep talking, their brain is focusing on getting more words from you. That's it. So pause. And the also thing, and this is why I say I can't exaggerate enough how powerful pauses are. Do you guys know what filler words are? Okay, very good. Yes. It's all your ums, your ands, your uhs. And when I saw this and I learned it, it was the best thing that I could have done. And someone was talking about how replacing your filler words with just pauses is like night and day. And it changes your speaker to make you an exceptional orator. Just that one thing. So every time you want to say ah or and or just pause. Just stop. And then say the next word, right? If you don't know what your next thought is, take a pause and think about it and then say it. Your speech becomes more respectable because I'm not just blurting out noise, but I'm thinking and I'm saying things that are wise and that I truly mean. Okay, I think I spoke enough about pauses. One last point is volume. We mentioned this a little bit in tone, but the extra point that I want to mention here is that everyone should be able to hear. The people at the back of the khutbah should be able to hear what you're saying. Inshallah ta'ala. Yes, Abdelbath. The tone, yes. Good question. How would someone balance between scolding someone and just raising your voice to a tone that is a little bit higher, right? I think it's very difficult to really explain it in the best way, but I think it's more of a feeling thing as well. I feel like when you reach the stage where now you're scolding, you start thinking less about the words you're saying, to some extent, right? It comes off very emotional, and it can come off aggressive too because of that emotion, right? But if you are constantly thinking about the words that you're saying and you're taking a pause before you say them, and you are intentionally elevating your voice, you will do it more consciously where it won't come off as being, what was the term you used? Scolding, exactly. Wallahu alam. Does that kind of answer it? Yeah, so just be really conscious about the way and the mannerism you're saying it. Yes?
Just one thing to add to that I want to credit Halwa for, and it comes back to what Yasin asked and ties back to what other guys said.
Yes.
Some topics just in nature are more serious and they will feel like you're scolding.
Mm-hmm.
So do exactly what you said with the tone and the rhythm. Let out a smile when you're going to give a point that is more smile-worthy, just to show the audience that you're not actually scolding them.
Yes.
You're on their side, and just so it comes off more, from a warmer, harder side. 100%, 100%. That's a good point. Some topics in nature are tough and hard to comprehend. Like there are many ahadith where the Prophet ﷺ would be giving a khutbah until his face would go red, right? Or he would be sweating, for example. And that's just the nature of the topic that's being chosen, right? And like Rayyan said, using the opportunities of positivity to smile and so on will show that I'm not just an angry guy. You know what I mean? Okay. Are we good on speech? Any questions? Okay. I promised Rayyan to finish 15. I have just 1 or 2 last slides and I'll be done. The essence of this is to live your jumu'ah, to bring it to life. You really need to be in it. You need to feel it. You need to be something that you understand, that you internalize, that you think is an important topic. And honestly speaking, this is why it goes back to choosing the topic as well, because you chose a topic that really mattered. It's important. And everything you built off of that is important. The way I deliver it is important, so people will treat it with the same importance.
But if you just did a khutbah because, oh, they told me they needed a khateeb last minute, so I came and did one of my khutbahs from last term and just put it here, you're not giving it importance. The delivery will also be a little bit deficient, and people will comprehend it with that deficiency as well. Give it importance. Be that you care. Even if it's last minute, spend every minute that you have putting the care into that khutbah and bring it to life. And I'll say here, I want you to live it with me. If I'm living my khutbah, you will naturally live it with me. I don't want to see someone, going on their phone, scrolling. I've seen people attend khutbahs and just, be on their phones. And you've probably seen it too. That shouldn't happen in your khutbah. You should be engaging enough that that doesn't happen. And this draws us to the last slide here about eye contact. Yes? Yes, they shouldn't do it in the first place. But you want to just focus on, just internalizing how you can improve and be more engaging as a speaker so that the ones who thought about it think twice about it. Inshallah. The first part about eye contact that I said is no reading from a paper. Please, 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 please don't read from a paper. Don't just be reading from a paragraph because we can all do that. You're there to deliver a message so people can comprehend it. Because you're talking to the people, not your paper. If I have a paper and I'm reading from it, I'm not looking at any of you, right? If I was just standing here and looking at my slides, I'm not talking to any of you. Half of you would be sleeping, half of you would be on your phone. But if I look at you and I'm engaging with you, you're not doing that anymore. Now, the next point, you notice I said paper and paper is because I said if you do bring notes, bring them written. Now, optimally, I would say practice your khutbah enough where you don't need to bring notes. Where you can speak it because you've really internalized the topic, you really understood what you want to get across, and I can deliver that confidently. But if you fear that I might forget some points and you want to write something down, I would say write it down. Like either it's a typed print or it's written notes, but I'm saying don't bring your phone. The phone is a symbol of distraction nowadays. Using your phone is showing me, in some way, it's sending symbolism that you're distracted. It's like when you use your phone at work. Your boss is going to be like, their first impression is going to be like you're distracted from work. That's their first impression. Similarly, when you're using your phone, I'm going to consider using my phone in the khutbah as well because I see you on your phone, right? So avoid that by holding a paper. It's much more professional. Or a tablet. Tablet also works. It's also that same professionalism. But also don't rely on the notes that you have. Try to keep them only bullet points, like cue cards, just 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, and then you verbalize the points you want to say. Finally, important in terms of eye contact is if I wasn't looking at the eye contact, I wouldn't be able to tell that a good portion of you are in the last line and would have been better if you guys came up front because it's more respectable. But khair, alhamdulillah, being at the khutbah, you'll be able to look at the attention. You'll be able to see when they're reaching to the sister's side, etc. Then the volunteer will cue to you to advise everyone to come closer. But if I'm not doing eye contact and I'm looking at my paper, I won't be able to tell. And you'll be also able to know who is focused and who's distracted. Allahumma barik, Sahel has been here. He hasn't opened his phone a single time. MashaAllah, he's very focused. And I only realize this by looking. I can see who's focused and who's engaged with me.
He sent me a message, by the way.
Conceal what Allah has concealed. Okay. Khair. So that's eye contact, and that's the last slide, inshallah. Just final summary and takeaway points. Any questions about eye contact though before I move on? Yes? How do you deal with eye contact when it comes to sisters and stuff? I will say, firstly, Kamal said close your eyes. So you give the khutbah, you just close your eyes and go back, I would say, firstly, when you're talking about such an important topic that really means and resonates and you want people to comprehend, I'll tell you, lowering your gaze, you won't think twice about staring about sisters. I'm being honest with you. Because you have more important things at stake, right? That's not going to become a matter. Furthermore, when you are looking, you're not intentionally, consciously looking, and I really want to know that sister, is looking at me, that specific sister. I'm not going to name any names because this is being recorded. Someone will, someone will think I'm talking about them. You get my point, right? But rather, you're just peering as you're looking at everyone else, respectable amount. You get what I mean? No more than a second, to be honest with you. So you're just glancing all over. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Alhamdulillah.
Just a point on that.
Yes, Ahnaf.
You can usually go over people and make them as engaged as the same point of not actually looking. Because if you look at the back of the class, you can go over the back of the class, they wouldn't know, right? And they would be as engaged with you, and you wouldn't have to consciously have to stare at anybody because you can go over their sight line, around them, through them. It does because they are not looking to lock eyes; they're looking to see if you're.
Yes, very good point. I'll add on to that in terms of locking eyes. No, astaghfirullah. Some people, for example, when they do public speaking, they say, try to have 1-2 people that you just look at in each direction. Personally, I'm not upon this madhab. I prefer you just peer over like Ahnaf was saying, that I'm just glancing over and I'm looking and observing all the people there, not just one person. Because I'm not giving a khutbah to just Musa and Ahnaf. No, I'm giving a khutbah to everyone. You get my point? And that will also help address your point that you're addressing everyone there as well. Okay, summary and takeaway points, very briefly. I'm sorry, Rayyan. Okay, we'll go quickly. Number 1 point, ask yourself, what do you want the attendees to remember? You're going into your khutbah. They're going to leave the khutbah. I'm going to repeat that. They're going to leave the khutbah. What do you want them to remember? And it has to be brief. And whether that's a story or an example or something. Number 2, what will they change in their life? So give them a task. So this is primarily in your second khutbah, give me an actionable item. Because okay, give me a bunch of reflection. I know, I feel like I'm a great guy or I feel like I'm a horrible guy. You made me reflect. Well, help me on what I can do to make things better. How can I treat my parents better? How can I, be good, better to my friends? What exercises can I do to be more conscious of my language, etc. When I ask someone what they benefit from your khutbah, they should tell me. Many a times, someone will attend the khutbah and I'll ask them, which khutbah did you attend? They'll be like the 3 p.m. khutbah, delivered by so-and-so. I'll be like, what did you think about the khutbah? They'll be like, it was amazing. I tell them, okay, what did you benefit from the khutbah? And they'd be like, if they remember the topic, Allahumma barik. I'm being honest with you. They remember the topic, Allahumma barik. But if you give the topic with true importance and you really give them an action item or introspection, they will take that with them and they will benefit from it. So this is a very good metric for me and the khutbah review team that they'll do as well to know the quality of your khutbahs. Repeat the action item throughout your khutbah. So if you have a specific action item, repeat it, recur it. You'll notice the Prophet ﷺ used to repeat a lot of things. He used to say something 1, 2, 3, right? Or for example, some ayats in the Quran are repeated that are similar. And repeating that action item throughout your khutbah will really ingrain it deep in their minds. Last point, before I conclude, inshallah ta'ala. I just noticed this when I was looking at the presenter notes for this slide. It's something I added in one of the Khateeb workshops, and that was dealing with riya. This is an important part, and it ties us back to the beginning when we talked about intention and why we're doing this. I've had experiences where Khateebs come to me and they tell me, I don't know if I can deliver khutbahs anymore. I don't feel like I'm worthy. I feel like I am hypocritical. Then other times, I have other people come to me and tell me, X, Y, and Z Khateeb, thinks so amazingly of himself and conducts himself in a way of riya. These are 2 contrary points, but they all have to do with the internal state. I'll address them both quickly because I think they're important. In terms of the first one, which is, what was the first one I said? Don't feel you're worthy. MashaAllah, Wes is following with me. Don't feel you're worthy. I would say a couple things to bear in mind is, number one, if it's not me that's delivering this khutbah, then who would be delivering the khutbah? If there's someone better than you, Allahumma barik, tell them to go up and do it better. But if we're in a shortage of khateebs, you're there because you need to give this. It's more driven by a need than a desire or want, right? Number two, even though you're a sinner, we're all sinners. There are no malaika among us. We're all sinners. And just because, you are a sinner doesn't mean you can't advise people to stop their sinning. The scholars say that if the only person that can advise to stop sinning did not sin, none of us would advise each other to stop sinning because we're all sinners. Number three, use that as an opportunity to better yourself. If you truly feel that you're saying things that you are not practicing yourself, remind yourself of the ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do you advise each other to goodness and forget yourselves? Use that fact that I'm giving a khutbah on this topic, that I have to be honest to myself, that I have to practice the things I preach. Maybe you can even take it as an exercise to yourself that I won't deliver the khutbah until I practice it. This is bonus points. Say, I won't speak about it until I practice it. Then I have the right to speak about it. So that's all for point number one. Point number two, in terms of dealing with riyā. Okay, now once you get there, now there's the other side of the coin, where you feel so fondly of yourself. I'm delivering amazing khutbahs. Everyone loves my khutbahs. Everyone's telling me, when's the next time you're going to do your khutbah? Remind yourself why you started this in the first place. You're doing this for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla, because the community needs these things. They need to hear these things. And remind yourself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you here. This is not a privilege, but an accountability. I'll repeat that. It's not a privilege, but it's an accountability. If you have the ilm and you have the knowledge, you have a duty to give that knowledge. And if you didn't give that knowledge, you would have been accountable for it. And it was not from yourself that you magically got this knowledge. You did not become a alim one day. You were not born one day. You are not this amazing person that was born with a brain better than ChatGPT. You were not that. You learned a lot. You were a baby. You had mashayikh. You had a school. You're here at Waterloo. You didn't get here by chance. Remembering that there were a million variables in your life that allowed this to be possible will remind yourself that I shouldn't have riyā. This is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What I have to worry about is my accountability. I have to deliver the right things. I have to say the right words. I need to tell people what they need to hear, or else I will be accountable for, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Baqarah, concealing the truth. Because I know something and I didn't share it. So these are thoughts that you have to really evaluate on yourself and constantly remind yourself. Niyyah is something that we always say and will always continue to say because you need to constantly assess that, inshallah. And that will be the difference between night and day in your khutbah. Inshallah, I will wrap it at that because we have to go pray Asr, inshallah. And when we come back, we will have an exercise. It will be an ability for us to practice, inshallah, how to deliver that khutbah. I encourage you all, please, after we pray Asr, don't think the workshop is just done. Rayyan has prepared something very, very beautiful and excellent for you all. So please stay for that as well, inshaAllah ta'ala. Any last thoughts or questions before we break for salah? Yes, Abdul Ba'ad. Abdul Wadud? Yeah. Yes. I didn't understand your point, wallahi.
My point was, okay, sorry guys, my point was, when you're doing a khutbah, think of Abdul Wadud speaking to you, you're going to learn how to give a proper posture when you're actually doing a khutbah. Because I can't think of anyone in this world who has a better posture than Abdul Wadud.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. It's hadith mawdu'. But no, very important point to have good posture, inshallah ta'ala. Inshallah, we'll conclude there. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Oh Allah, allow us to benefit from what we have learned and to learn that which benefits us and to apply what we learn with sincerity, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. Oh Allah, allow us to be Khateebs that deliver khutbahs that are pleasing to you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, allow us to deliver khutbahs that are impactful to the community and that are beneficial to the community. Oh Allah, don't let this be an accountability heavy on our scales, rather be a means for ajr for us, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. Anything I said that is faulty is from myself. Anything of truth is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we'll wrap it there. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.